Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Rise. My name is Ryan Sullivan, joined as always by the one and only DeMerit. Well,
did you hear that drum roll?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Thanks. Though. Thanks so much for joining us again, of course, and we are joined live. He's just north of Tampa Bay, but usually you can find him way overseas, pitching for the Yomiuri Giants over in Tokyo, Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Mathieson is joining us. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, bud. Absolutely. So you've got one heck of a career going here, and I mean, I'm sure it's, 10, 20 years ago, I don't know if it's the way you would have drawn it out, but sometimes things take a change, and it definitely happens for the better. And I mean, I know just after visiting Japan this past summer, the sports atmosphere down there is just it's second to none. It's absolutely sensational, and we're going to get into all that too. But first, before we set that up, I want to kind of start from the beginning with you. You're a Vancouver boy, and when I reached out originally, like that was the connection. Kind of growing up in the same parts. So I want to see. I mean, growing up in Vancouver, the support system you had, the coaches that you had. What was that like for you, kind of coming up through the system?
I mean, I always loved baseball, and I think my draft class was the first real big draft class. So we had Adam Lone and Jeff Francis that year, were both first rounders. And, honestly, thanks to them, I think that's probably the only reason I got drafted is it seemed like every time Adam Lone pitched, I was pitching against them, and, I did well enough that enough people saw me, so I got a chance.
But you went through you were in the BC Premier League. You were pitching for Langley, which, I mean, it's almost like getting drafted, I guess, through the BCHL sort of thing into hockey. Like it's just kind of a side route that, I mean, when you were going into your draft year there, what was the thought process like?
I was pretty naive going into my draft year, to be honest. I was, I was playing with Team Canada that time, and I was going to go to University of Hawaii, or if I was a draft in the fall, I was going to go to El Paso Junior College. And, I was really just kind of up in the air and kind of living it day by day and, enjoying baseball at the time. I played for the Langley Blaze, and, in the Premier League, I don't know if you guys looked into it at all, but if you play in the Premier League, and especially Langley, you're going to get a scholarship. You're either going to play college baseball or professional baseball. It's a very good league and great coaches in that league. And so, I knew I was going to keep playing. I just, I hadn't looked that far ahead. And I got drafted by the Phillies in the 17th round. And I honestly, that was one team I never even talked to. So when they drafted me, it was kind of like, okay, like now what?
Now, one of the things we always like to talk about too is, in that kind of essence of you're at an age where you can go get a university scholarship. Were you doing any other sports? What kind of, what were your coaches saying? What was your support system from your parents? Did you have brothers and sisters? Like, what was kind of pushing you to start to make these decisions, and kind of how did that upbringing kind of lead to you having these kind of opportunities? Do you think that played a part in your story, or was it were you someone that kind of took it upon yourself to make these opportunities happen?
My dad always pushed me to play as many sports as I could, and in high school I played every sport that was available, from track and field to basketball to, I played hockey all the way until 11th grade, and, baseball is just the one that I kind of stood out at, and my father's still the coach of the Langley Blaze, so, he was always one of my coach, and he kind of pushed me there, but everything kind of fell in place, and then when I got drafted, I was still thinking about going to college because, you never want to give up a chance to go to college. But then part of my original contract was the Phillies had to pay for my college education, after baseball's done. So even after, say, next year I retire, I can still go back to college and send off my my bills to the Phillies.
Wow.
So that was the big key for me that made me sign.
That's a pretty sweet deal. So even now, if you hang it up right now, the Phillies are covering the bill?
They do, yeah. I think I have to start going to school within 2 years of hanging it up. But, they have to cover the bill. And,
Wow.
I figured if I signed and went to college and, I struggled my first year or something happened, they could pull a scholarship. And then, I finished school in debt where, I go play pro ball and it doesn't work out. I can go back to college and finish school without any debt.
That's pretty cool, man. Now, 2006, you make your debut against the Tampa Bay. I mean, the Devil Rays at the time. They weren't just the Rays just yet. But I mean, what's that like? I mean, we try and put ourselves in different people's shoes all the time, but you're about to go out there for the first time. This is the dream. This is the goal. What hits you the second you step on the dirt running out?
Well, I mean, I'll step back. There's a little story before how I even got there, but when I got called up, just before I got called up, I got in a big brawl. I was in Double-A, and I came in the game. Yeah, I came in the game and I hit a guy, and we got in a big brawl. I ended up getting suspended in Double-A, and I came off, and one of the Rovers was there, and he's all fired up. He told me, he's like, "I love that. That was great. Love seeing that in you." And I couldn't pitch for like 10 days or something. So we went on the road. We were in Erie, and I was at the gym early in the morning, and I got back, and I had like 6 messages on my phone, and it was my manager asking where I was. I called him. He told me to come to his room. He sounded all pissed off, so I was a little nervous. I didn't know what I did, or I got down there, and then he told me, I'm going up to the big leagues, and he's like, that was the best thing you could do. You showed you had the spirit, and you showed, you had guts, and they loved seeing that, and they're going with you instead of a guy from AAA, and so I got called up out of Double-A.
Wow.
And I got to skip my whole suspension in Double-A.
Nice.
And so that's how I got called up. So that was pretty nerve-wracking there. And then, I mean, the first phone call to my father was, I don't even remember it. That was awesome. And then my first pitch out there, I bounced it. I think, I one-hopped it to the catcher. And I remember stepping off the mound, and I didn't have a care in the world because I was like, I made it. This is what I've done my whole life. And I think the second or third pitch, Carl Crawford hit a ball about 100 miles an hour past my head for a single up the middle. But after that, I settled in, and I think I went 6 innings, 4 runs. It wasn't a stellar outing, but it wasn't bad for a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
A debut nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. Nicely done. I mean, nicely done also not cracking your hand at the same time in the brawl.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's right. If you ever want to make it to the bigs, just start fighting.
Yeah, there it is. But you got to protect the big stuff though. For you, it's the hand. I mean, you couldn't go out breaking your foot anytime soon.
True.
So
that's true.
It's funny you say that because some of my best memories in baseball are actually some of the brawls I've been in, and I've probably been in a lot more brawls than most people in baseball. And I think more because at least coming up with Team Canada and just the way I grew up was more old school baseball.
Yeah.
And now with that generation, how it's changing, it clashed a little bit, but. Yeah, some of my best memories are some of the brawls, like the Team Canada WBC brawl versus Mexico, and I was with Team Canada against Cuba, Phillies versus the Giants. Like, there's been some good ones.
Nice. And you know what? I want to ask you about that. I mean, before maybe we're skipping ahead a little bit, but we can always come back. That Canada Mexico brawl. I mean, you were right in the thick of it. And the big thing was, I mean, I guess Mexico thought that you guys were just trying to run up the board, but when it comes to the tournament, that's how you advance. That's how you get the higher seeding is run count. So
yeah.
So what was
in 2006 we beat USA and we still got knocked out because of the run count.
Right.
But we needed those extra runs, and so it was just I guess they didn't understand that. And the awkward thing is the Mexico manager was one of my ex-teammates, and then the third baseman, who kind of initiated everything by telling the pitcher to hit. He was my teammate the next year, and he's the one who swung at me, and I ended up hitting him in the brawl. And we were teammates for 2 years after that. So, that was kind of interesting. But, we became great friends, and, once it was done, it was done. And, I told him, I said, all right, I guess I owe you dinner, and, hey, man, it's over. Let's throw it behind us.
Let's go for favorite brawl memory. I mean, we're going to go for best baseball memory in a while, but let's go favorite brawl memory. Did you ever get like a Nolan Ryan headlock in there or something, just feeding Ventura with some uppercuts, or what was the best one?
I mean, obviously Nolan Ryan sticks out to everybody. That's like, if you think of a baseball brawl. But if you look at the WBC brawl, there's only a few views you see it, but you see Tyson Gillies just body slam a guy in there. And that sticks out to me pretty good. It wasn't me involved in it, but that was a pretty good one. I mean, there's been some good ones. I actually got hit. I got cheap shotted pretty good, and that sticks out still to me when I was in Double-A. But, they just kind of, I think it's the adrenaline and just the mayhem and the craziness of it all. that I don't have one real scene. I don't have one like hero scene. I wish I did. I wish I jerseyed a guy and laid into him a little, but I don't have one of those scenes yet. Maybe this coming season.
Give it time. Yeah, give it time.
Yeah.
You know what? Why don't we, while we're on the topic, before we get to a little bit of the injury Rolodex here, let's jump to some sponsors. We'll segue that a little bit, and we'll talk about our good friends at Botanica. It's the new Perfect Protein Elevated Anti-Inflammatory by Botanica. It's an original and organic, if you will, plant protein blended with anti-inflammatory superfoods, including turmeric and ginger, plus 20 grams of fermented plant protein packed with natural vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, healthy fats, and fiber. You got to get that fiber
in there.
Turmeric helps reduce inflammation, which is key, of course, for sports recovery. It's a big deal. I've gone through the concussion. I mean, from the sounds of it, Scott, I'm sure you've gone through a couple in your life too. The anti-inflammatory, it's very good stuff. So Botanica getting the job done. Also, the folks at the Burrard Hotel give us this. Even two guys in green spandex sometimes need to break away from regular life.
And the Burrard has everything we need.
Space for hanging out.
Bikes for exploring.
Sweet rooms for getting ready for the game.
And an amazing downtown location.
So book your Burrard breakaway now and we'll see you at the game. I say the Burrard makes heading downtown to the game that much better. They're just a slap shot away from Rogers Arena and BC Place. So if you want to have a couple pops, that's the place to be. You can check out their courtyard too. They got ping pong. They got a fire pit. They got beers. When you get there, you check in for your first day. Check out theburrard.com and enter promo code GREENMEN. Save yourself 15%. And speaking of those bevies, we got to thank the fine folks at Red Truck. Not only do they decorate our studio, but they keep us hydrated on a weekly basis. Greatly appreciated. All right, right back to it. Let's get back to those injuries. You get Tommy John. You come up with the Phillies, and then just a few months later, you get the Tommy John. You know, what goes through your mind? What's the rehab like? Because for a lot of pitchers, I mean, you know, mostly like older guys, Tommy John late in the career can kind of be a bit of a death sentence. But you know, you're a young, spry guy. But what's the thought once that happens?
Yeah, for me, I went out and I was pitching against the Braves. I had some pain in my forearm, but it was no signs for the ligament or anything like that. And I was on my sixth pitch. I struck out Pete Orr, another Canadian, on a changeup actually, and my arm just broke. The bone ended up breaking and the tendon came off, or the ligament, and yeah, that was the start of it all. So. Came out of the game. My line for that day was one batter faced, one strikeout, no outs because it went to the stop. He got to first, and I got the loss because the next pitcher came in and gave up a two-run home run. So, that was a rough day for me.
Yeah.
But I went into it thinking, I'm 21, 22 years old. I have lots of time in my career. A lot of guys come back stronger. I'm not too worried. I know I have a good work ethic. I'll be all right. And so I went out to Dr. Yoakum and had my surgery. Everything presumably went well. I had some bone damage, so they couldn't move the nerve. But I came back at like 10 months. I was throwing 96, 97. Everything was back. They sent me up to AA to throw a rehab game. And it was like third pitch. The nerve came out of joint. And my hand got like almost paralyzed. Like my fingers turned in and got stuck. So I had to go have emergency surgery to release the tension on the nerve. And after that, I had that surgery. It's supposed to be like 3 months rehab. Like I had constant pain the whole time. And then the first time I went to throw a baseball, the ball went straight into the ground and the ligament ripped off. So the thought was that my ligament was torn during surgery or cut or something happened there.
Yeah, wow.
And, so then I had to have everything redone again, but not before having 4 doctors tell me that can't be done. And it was Jim Thome, actually, who got me out to see Dr. Andrews and recommended him. And I went out and saw Dr. Andrews, and, everybody knows who he is in the sports field. And he's very arrogant, very cocky, but very good at the same time. And I went and saw him. He's like, yeah, I can fix it. He's like, it's up to you if you're going to pitch again. And
at any point, did you, after the third doctor, be like, well, I should probably start looking at other things? Or Did you
Oh, yeah.
have inside of you this ability to say, no, I think I'll be all right. I'm just going to keep going until I find a doctor to do so. And I think that kind of mindset is something that, we like to talk about. And what went on during your times when, we always talk about kickbacks and people that tell you no and all these kinds of things. So how did you deal with that? And then did that come from the inside, or did you have a good support system again that kind of helped lead you down that direction?
There was definitely times that, I had a lot of doubt. Even just, I didn't think I had the will to do it again. It was teammates. It was, my wife mostly. People just always tell me never to give up. I remember the Phillies talked to me about coaching, potentially scouting, other options, other career options. And I figured, if anything, if I'm going to have a family down the road, I'd like to at least be able to play catch, with my son or daughter. So I'm going to get it done and see what happens. So I had the surgery, and at the same time, there was many times I was driving to baseball, and I'd stop, turn around, go back home, and say, like, I'm done with rehab, and not show up for a week, and just not be able to do it. It was tough. It was honestly a really tough time. But I always went back and ended up pitching my first game at 14 months, and same kind of story. 14 months, I was back up to 96, 97, and I pitched 2.5 months that year and put up like a below 1 ERA in Double-A. Then I went up to Triple-A the next year and was up to 101, 102 miles an hour, and it was a minor league pitcher of the year, and it just from there it went. Everything went really well. Now, I also had stem cell injections throughout that time because I was still having a lot of pain, and I think those were some of the stem cell injections were some of the things that got me through a lot of it. Because once I started those, the pain went away, and I was able to start pitching back to back and day after day, and that helped a lot.
Nice, man. That's awesome stuff. And again, we'll get to more of the Rolodex because it just continued this season. But before we get there, let's fast forward a little bit from pitching the minors, kind of rehab and going through that. You are released by the Phillies to pursue some opportunities overseas in November of 2011. A few days later in December, you sign on over in Tokyo. Everybody hears about baseball in Japan. Everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but you should, if you haven't, has seen Mr. Baseball, a tremendous movie. Yeah, classic, Tom Selleck. But what
you could remake it?
Huh?
I don't think you could remake it.
I don't think so. I'm positive that somebody will try because that seems to be what everyone does these days. But nonetheless, that was an absolute classic. So when you get over there, is that the kind of experience that you have in the back of your mind? Just like, I don't really know what to expect, but like I don't know. Like when I went to Japan this past summer, I seriously had no idea what to expect, and it absolutely blew my mind. What was the process for you?
Same for me. I'll step back a little bit to November.
Sure.
The Phillies ended up calling me and said, we have a couple options. We have a couple teams here that want to buy your rights from us in the States. And we have a team in Japan, or a couple teams in Japan, that want to buy your rights. They told me, we're going to give you the option because, personally, we'd like to sell you to Japan because it was for more money. And then I was up to negotiate with the team. So I ended up negotiating with the Giants, and it was a guaranteed deal, and, it was a first guaranteed contract in my life, so that's why I went there. But I really had no idea what to watch or what to expect, and I went and watched Mr. Baseball, and I didn't know how accurate I was going to be as 30 years old, and what it was going to be like. I called Aaron Guile, who's another Canadian, played over there, talked to him a little bit, and then the day before I was leaving to Japan, we found out my wife was pregnant. So
wow.
it was literally 24 hours before I was getting on an airplane. So that was like a whirlwind right there. And, we just kind of said, all right, well, let's just do it. We'll have our baby in Japan. And, since then, both my kids have been born in Japan. And Japan's been my home for the last 7 years, going to be 8 years now.
That's phenomenal, man. That's so cool. And going over there, the Tokyo Dome, as cool as it was, growing up in Vancouver, it looks exactly like old BC Place.
Sure does.
Yeah, it's dead ringer for BC Place. But the atmosphere in there, once you get inside, is just absolutely, it's just absolute insanity. And every single player on the roster has his own chant going in the crowd. It's just it's so surreal, and it's so different from my like going to a Major League Baseball game experiences. How about for you, like on the field, going into that, not knowing what to expect, game one, season one, what's going through your mind?
I do remember my first game there, and I remember having chills on the mound. I mean, it was a cool experience, and like as you said, it's a different experience than you've ever seen. It could be a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and there's 50,000 people there, and they're all standing on their feet. I mean, it's a mix between.
What's your chant?
Oh yeah,
Can you
Great
give
choice.
us
I got a couple.
small example of what we should be chanting in the stands?
You have to YouTube that or
Okay.
call my wife.
Yep. Okay. All you listeners, make sure you're YouTubing right now.
yeah.
I will be doing it after the show, no doubt.
But no, it's just such a cool experience, like atmosphere and experience, and it's crazy because there's such good fans and passionate fans, but they're not like you can do bad there, and they still kind of give you the little courtesy clap as you come off the field, and there's never any negativity.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty nice atmosphere that way. It's a little weird. It's a little strange. I mean, you have a bad game and you get pulled in the middle of an inning and you're getting, courtesy clap as you're coming off. Coming from Philadelphia where people are yelling and throwing beer at you, it's a lot different.
Yeah, I can imagine. I couldn't do this. Coming home and trying to tell friends, trying to tell other people about it. And that was pretty good, but I'm going to throw this challenge at you. Can you sum up the Japanese sports experience in like a few sentences? Can that be done?
I don't know, a Clemson football game mixed with a, Manchester United game. You put those two fans together and that would be a Japanese baseball game.
I love it.
And no one can believe that, but it's crazy.
And I mean, what's it like? So say, for instance,
sport.
Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, again, we can talk about game time atmosphere, but as far as what about after the games? I mean, are you a recognizable figure? Are you somebody that wants to go and engage in that community? Are they engaging as far as what goes on off the field? Can you kind of walk us through the day in the life of a day in Tokyo and kind of what that's like to be you off the field?
I'm definitely a quieter person, and I don't go looking for that. And the area I live in Tokyo, there's so many foreigners. I wouldn't say I get recognized everywhere, but now being there so long, a lot more so. And if I go to breakfast or lunch or go out anywhere, there's always somebody that'll come up and say hi or good luck or introduce themselves. But it's a lot different. They just want to like give you a little wave or shake your hand, and then they're on their way. And very polite culture, so it's not bad at all. I don't really like. I'm on Twitter and I use social media, but I try not to put any of my family on there. I try to keep everybody off because I just don't like that whole limelight kind of thing, and I don't really want them getting hassled when we're over there. But they're very, very respectful, and I found when I was in the States, when I got called up to the big leagues, everybody wanted something. Everybody wanted a ticket. Everybody wanted me to invest in their next restaurant or something. In Japan, they want to shake your hand or just say hi or tell you good luck. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
For sure.
Now, why don't we talk about this past season? In August, you got knocked out of the roster. You went down. You had to get some knee surgery. How's that going? And what's the rehab process like? And will you be back on the hill next season?
That's the plan. In August, I pitched 13 of 15 games. I threw 8 games in a row, and I ended up we were on a real bad mound, and I landed funny and tore a bunch of cartilage off my knee. And Uehara, who was the closer for the Red Sox 2014 when they won the World Series, he came in right after me, and he was on my team, and he did the exact same thing, blew out his knee as well. So I'd like to blame the mound, but
we should.
Yeah,
we will definitely blame the mound. I think we would agree.
So that's what I'll take it.
Yeah.
But so I tried to rehab it. It was just as locking up. It was pretty bad. I came back here and I went to Dr. Cole, who was the Chicago Bulls doctor. So I figured NBA doctor, deals with a lot of big, strong athletes, a lot of jumping, landing on their knees. He went in and did my surgery. he ended up just cleaning everything up, shaving the bone down as much as he could, and taking bone marrow, spinning it down, and injecting the stem cells from that into my knee. I've been having stem cell injections in my knee every 3 weeks, and I just had my last one, I guess, 10 days ago, and it's the first time this winter that it's actually feeling pretty good. Starting Monday, I'm going to start throwing again and really getting after it, so I'm kind of excited about that. I've been training with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ex-PT and a couple NFL players, so been putting myself around guys that are kind of kicking my butt and pushing me a lot, so I'm hoping I'll be strong and, be able to get out there and give it at least another good year. And, my goal is to kind of finish up this year and then in 2020 play for Team Canada in the Olympics.
Last question out of me. And actually, before we get to the question, an excellent time to throw in the final few sponsors. Burrard Physiotherapy, we love them. Looking to keep that body healthy. Aren't we all? The skilled and caring therapists at Burrard Physio, they're here to help. They carefully assess and prescribe exercises that are best suited for you. They also have leading-edge equipment like laser, shockwave, anti-gravity treadmill, and real-time ultrasound. Over 150 years of combined experience. You're in the right hands with fine folks at Burrard Physiotherapy. And the fine folks at Burrard Roofing bring us this.
Drip, drip, drip. Ladies, you don't have to sleep with that drip tonight. That annoying drip in your home you just haven't gotten around to getting rid of? Burrard Roofing and Drainage can fix that annoying drip. For 40 years, Burrard Roofing and Drainage has been fixing roof leaks right down to the cause, guaranteed. Call Burrard Roofing and Drainage. Call 604-986-1812. Burrard Roofing and Drainage. We've got you covered.
Rated A++ in the Better Business Bureau. BurrardRoofing.com is where you can find him anytime online or give him a shout at 604-986-1812. Now, Scott, last question for me. Looking back on it all, there's still a lot more road to go, but looking back, kind of comparing, the bigs on this side, MLB, and what you've been through over in Japan, well over 300 appearances over there, almost 500 strikeouts, some fantastic numbers. A great, I'd say, factually, definitely a more storied career, I think, than most, and definitely in the best possible way. Looking back, what's some of the biggest differences for you, and what really stands out as some of the biggest triumphs for you?
I think the biggest thing for me and the biggest key for my success is I went over there and nobody cared that I had 3 elbow surgeries. They wanted to see what I could do, and they wanted to see, who I was right now. Where when I was in the States, in 2011, I was in the big leagues. I think I threw 5 games, and I was up there for like 3 months. And every time I pitched, they're asking, "How's your elbow?" The media would always write count down until Scott blows out again, and it was, always a big thing about when I'm going to get hurt again. Where, I got over to Japan and nobody cared about that, and I just got a fresh start. And for me, I just needed that fresh start, and because I was someone that always worked as hard as I could, and I was always grasping for that, that chance, and I felt like Japan gave me that chance.
Nice.
And I've had chances to come back to the MLB. Every contract I've had in Japan, I've had offers to come back and play in the big leagues over here, but it's just you kind of get trapped in a wormhole when you do well in Japan, because they always pay you just a little bit more, and they always offer you just a little bit more, and and now at my age, it's time to take care of my family. It's time to my dream was to play in the big leagues, but all of a sudden now I'm comfortable in Japan. My family loves it there. I need to financially take care of them, set them up for the rest of our lives, and hopefully my kids' lives. And so it was just those things where I could never break out of it. And I actually came really close to signing with the Blue Jays a year ago, and the Giants came and offered me a 2-year deal, and the Blue Jays was a 1 year, and it didn't work out. So
one of the things we like to finish with the show, again, you're a guy that a Canadian that's been drafted to the bigs. You've been someone who's played at the highest level, and then also someone that's built his own legend. 300 appearances, 473 strikeouts so far over in Japan. I'm sure a Canadian legend over on those shores. Now, one thing we like to do is to have. Again, this is a show called The Rise, and it's built off the foundation that my wife and I have called the Rise and Shine Foundation. And one thing we always want to do when we have special guests or people that have anything to do with this subject is really kind of have them go into their life and try to really dissect the mindset. And we call it, what are your rise and shine rules? What are some rules you live by on a day-to-day basis throughout your 10 plus year career here? What are some rules you live by every day? What kind of mantras get you out of bed to continue to have a lifelong career like you have so far?
I think starting when I was young, I was always very competitive. I always, if I couldn't win at something, I would try to find a way to do it. And my dad would always tell me, like, you're going to run into people a lot more talented than you, but you can always outwork them. So, work was always a key for me to surpass everybody. And then when I got drafted, my dad dropped me off at the airport, and I'll never forget, he told me, he said, if this lasts 3 months, if it lasts 20 years, he said, just never have any regrets. He said, if you go down there and you go out and you go partying and you're hungover or you're not feeling well the next day and you do bad, he said, make sure it was worth it. Don't have regrets. Don't look back and say, I wish I didn't do that. And he said, just, do everything for a purpose and enjoy every moment. And I really try to live my life without any regrets. And I try to, work as hard as I can. I stay on a routine. When I'm down here in the off season, I get up at 4:30 every morning. I go to the gym. I go to a spin class 4 days a week. And, even now at 34, I'm still trying to, now I'm competing with guys that are 21, 22. And up until this year, my biggest thing was I never wanted to lose in any of the running races, especially in Japan, because they're known for their running. And that was my thing. My first year, I went over there and, I kicked everybody's butt. And in baseball, there's a lot of times running. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. But, that was something that set me apart when I first got there. They said, they've never seen a foreigner like that. And, I just want to make sure that I outwork everybody because, I've run into tons of people that are a lot more talented than I am. And, I'm still pitching. I'm going into my 18th year of professional baseball. And, there's no way I would have done that without working hard and also having great support and, people behind me and, on my low days, picking me up and pushing me. And on my high days, maybe kicking me down a notch or two.
Scott, Thank you so much, man, for taking the time, for joining us. Best of luck with the rehab as it goes and the spin classes. I can't do one spin class, so best of luck 4 times a week. That's ridiculous.
It's amazing. Middle-aged women just kicking my butt every day.
Yeah,
it's fun and it gets you in good
gets
shape.
you moving. That's for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Well, thank you so much. All the best next season and with absolutely everything in life. Thank you so much, bud.
Thanks,
and we'll be in touch.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Okay, so you know what? With that, that does another episode of The Rise. Thank you so much for joining us, for Jay and myself. Now for more on the Rise and Shine Foundation, check this out.
See ya.
Later.
So we are sitting here at the future site of a really glamorous high-end facility called the Rise and Shine Retreat. Currently we are kind of bootstrapping it with some tents that we've set up to be glamorous campsites, aka glamping. They make perfect accommodation for kids who are joining us for Jay's captain's camps.
Well, I think for us, half of this is about the mentorship program. It's not actually about soccer. The sport is why we're all here. But the mentorship is truly about what skills can we present to these kids and really start to give them an idea of what other successful people are doing in this world. And we have fun little competitions, but we always try to walk them out in the mentor's shoes because that's truly how these kids can learn.
So we feel it's really important to make sure that they are able to identify their other skills and strengths and particularly passions. It's not just kids coming up and being coached by somebody in their particular sport. It's kids' eyes being open to the multitude of possibilities and potential for success beyond the field. The idea is to create well-rounded individuals through this program. And then the other side of it is, we have all of these athletes who have transitioned out of sport or entrepreneurs who have moved on or changed their focus and transitioned out of whatever their career path had been. And it's cool to provide an opportunity for them to be part of it.
To see kids grow and to see kids actually participate in these kind of activities is truly, for me, the biggest benefit I get out of it all, because I could see them physically developing right in front of our eyes. We've been at the highest echelons of high performance, but we've also, we're normal people, we're relatable people, just like everybody else. And we have this rare ability to now create the platform to understand what that means, to support each other, to bring back community and not only in our kids, but as adults, and help each other.
I think that, when you achieve success as an athlete and you are so appreciative of all the people who put so much into it, it's only natural that you'd want to sort of turn around and share what you've learned and your experiences with the next generation.
We call it the Rise and Shine Retreat. That's what we're trying to create. We want people to come here in the health and wellness space and say, when I leave here, I'm going to be shining brighter. I'm going to understand what Rise and Shine means and the mentality behind it. We want to create a multifaceted facility. We want to be able to host weddings. We want to be able to host kids camps. We want to do fundraisers. We want to host community nights where people come and play sand soccer. We have the license and the space to really create our own lifestyle and bring people along with that in all of this health and wellness sphere that we feel so strongly about, and have a great crew that can help in those environments and create those atmospheres. And that's the kind of thing that we want to do here. We want to be unique. We want to set a new standard in how we should live, and ultimately create a community that really cares for each other.